Hello everybody and welcome to another community fortress. This fortress was submitted by Birb on the Discord and goes by the name of Craftedaces of the local Dwarven government of the Reg of Rapidity and the civilization of the Match Theater. Birb claims to have been a member of the community for quite some time and has watched my videos for a while, so I just would like to say thank you very much. And was kind enough to submit this fortress, and they would like some tips on places they can go. But before I really talk about the fortress itself, I just wanted to say if you would like to send in a fortress for me to have a look at on this series, there is a link to my Discord down in the description, and there's a room called DF Save Sharing. If you go into that room and you leave a link to download your fortress there, and at me that it's okay to use it in a video, and then also give us a brief description, maybe some screenshots of the fortress. I can't get to everything, but I do my best to try and get to as many of them as possible. Of course, this can just be a cool fortress that you built that you want to showcase, or alternatively, something a little bit more advice-oriented. If you want me to try and improve things, you can do that as well. So Birb talks about how this is a fortress in a vast wasteland that they were initially having troubles getting migrants to, and they say that they were bugged, but I'm really curious as to why they weren't getting migrants initially. I mean, there's several things that can cause that, everything from just things attacking you and things being too dangerous for them to arrive, or alternatively not giving the mountain home enough in trade. So I'm really curious to know about what they meant by that. But there is a volcano on this spot, and when they decided to reclaim the fortress as an attempt to fix the migrant problem, which seems to have fixed it quite nicely, it changed the volcanic water table. So or lava table, should I say. So there's a long-time bug in Dwarf Fortress, or maybe design mistake, where if you are somewhere with a lake or an ocean or a volcano and you abandon the fortress or retire the fortress and then reclaim it to continue playing later, it changes the layer that the water or lava settles on, thus immediately causing the volcano to erupt or surprise, hilarious tsunami. So whatever floats your boat, it could cause you to drown. This caused the volcano to erupt, which caused them some struggles. However, they were able to overcome it, so it's quite an epic landscape. They also then ask if I could offer any tips on ways to improve the fortress, improve the frame rate, or just some directions they can go. So if I scroll down on what they wrote down here, they said their completed projects are a legendary dining room, a room with a tavern and a mist generator system, and a tavern with fleshed out defenses and systems, and their personal favorite is a labyrinth for prisoners containing a bronze colossus. So we're gonna have to go find all of these things down in the fortress. Now, as you might imagine, the fortress frame rate here is a little iffy. The most recent update to Dwarf Fortress, which dropped a day before recording, actually improved frame rates on my PC on average by about 20%. If we have a look here, generally dwarves are pretty happy. Someone's kind of pissed, but generally dwarves are pretty happy. And we are running at about, at least when I had it playing earlier around, it settled around 25 to 30 frames per second, which is understandable based on, well, this. There's more of it too. You'll see in a bit. There's this long bridge prepared for invaders with some cultureless elves with no clothing wandering in. There's some traps at the end, and then a set of ballistas set up as defense. Something I would do is I would actually put a method of blocking this bridge or retracting it, and then have a second bridge maybe leading from here, or a tower over here or something, and have it be one tile wide. And then have some periodic stone traps, because while stone traps are very ineffective at actually killing things, they are very, very, very effective at making things dodge. So, as an example, if you have a single tile wide line going along here with some boulder traps on it, and a goblin trips up the boulder trap, they will jump out of the way of the boulder, fall off the edge, and into the lava, which just could cause some hilarious carnage if you want to vary up your defensive structure a little bit. I would just wall off this end here, or have like a bridge option to wall off this end here or something to stop the wagons from being able to get in, or just retract this entire thing entirely and have a secondary bridge. But making things dodge into lava is always funny. So then here we have, of course, ballistas and ballista arrows. I very much miss the old ballista arrow sprites from the old game. They were 3 tiles long and just kind of epic looking, and now they look a little dinky, but they're still cool. And then over here we have this little farming zone, and this fancy little gold floor room, which of course is the planter guild hall. I imagine that almost being like their banner or their flag there, that little image. Then of course we do have very thick statues of bolts, areas filled with bolts. Of course there is no bins on these iron bolts, so you're not going to run out of ammunition there if you're firing. As we go around, there is a hospital and several temples, and of course the temple in the very center here, as well as the temple around the edge. And if I go to the back here, there is another dining hall. Then there are some more guild halls, some bedrooms around the sides, and then the whole thing is kind of enveloped in a tavern. Now, they talk about this project that they were really satisfied with, which confused the hell out of me when I first looked at it. So this is the mist generator down here. It is dripping through. There's a lot of mud on the floor. Personally, I would have made these drains too tall, or alternatively maybe a cross pattern, just so there was more drains, just to limit the amount of mud that ends up on the floor. But it's kind of the way of things with this type of setup. Over here, there is a pump that is pumping water up, followed by a second pump that is pumping water that the first pump pumps up into the upper layer up here, and then it spreads down along here. Another thing I would do is I would have put a block right here just to slow the flow so that you just get mist and don't get as much mud spread. So I would bigger drains, slow the flow a little bit, and focus more on keeping things clean. Now, another thing that I'm noticing is clothing everywhere, which we'll talk about in a second. If you're trading, something that's very easy to do is sort by X for clothing. Then you go through leg wear, hand wear, body wear, and everything will be automatically filtered into damaged clothing, and you can very easily dispose of a lot of this clothing. Up here, we do have some workshops for the kitchens, of course, and various little pathways going other ways. This was the original entrance to the fort, I assume, because they talked about when they reclaimed the fort, the volcano started erupting, and, well, that is this. So apparently they had to wall off the fortress, and it was a big panic moment, which sounds like it must have been a fun bit. It's a shame it wasn't recorded or anything. Then, of course, there's also well access right here, which is seems to be in the works because that well is currently dry. And then we can just kind of explore around the fort a little bit. So let's move up a layer. We have a rather large dormitory, as well as some more bedrooms filled with clothing. We can talk about that in a sec as well. And if I go up to another higher layer, we'll see that there is a mayor's office. The mayor is, of course, a goblin. A dining hall, and a secondary office, and then another office. So, pro tip, it's sorted out here, but not down here. These bedrooms are screaming for cabinets. Cabinets, like this, are where clothing is stored. If I actually click on this cabinet, which belongs to the Dungeon Master specifically, if I click on this cabinet, you can actually see all these clothing items. Old clothing and clothing that the dwarf or character doesn't want to wear anymore will be put into their cabinet, and they will store it. When they die, it can then be emptied out and sold. So this is something I highly recommend doing for these other bedrooms. It'll also sort out this clothing everywhere on the ground problem, and any particularly messy dwarf that does leave their clothes on the ground, well, they can just have their clothing sold to the next trade caravan. Just a tip for the future. As we move up a little ways as well, there's, of course, these bedrooms up top, which also have cabinets. This one's for the mayor. I think I already mentioned that one. And then as we go up here, there's this kind of little zone right here. I'm not sure its purpose. And then we can go a little higher, all the way up to the top. There is nice little ore veins cut out up here. Now, also, that pump was powered. So right here, we can see there is a little vertical shaft going all the way up, 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 one tile at a time, up to these two windmills. Now, these windmills are a huge vulnerability for this fortress because things could crawl down underneath them. I would wall them off and kind of turn them into a little tower unto themselves just so that things can't climb up them. So what I would do is I would channel around this, remove this layer, channel around this, remove this layer, and then smooth around the outside of what the space that's supporting them, and then channel down, at least 2 or 3 more layers, just so nothing can climb in. There is, of course, a little horse breeding pasture up here. And then as we scroll down in the fortress, we can actually see I'll show you the pump system in its setup. So they drain out here, they get pumped into this side, up through here, and then up through here, up through here, and then down back through the tavern. And then there's some rather confusing areas down here that I'm not super sure what they're doing with them. There's this pump stack, which appears to be in the works to fill this up, which is going to do, I think, the well. And then there is this area down here, which appears to be harvesting an aquifer. I think that's what this is. So I'm not entirely certain the purpose of this. I'd be really curious to know. It looks like it's trying to build a well, but I'm not entirely sure. So we can follow this stairway down. This stairway seems very cramped. I personally would use the kind of star design that you might see me using in certain forts where it ends up looking kind of like this. And there's definitely like plenty of space for it. Essentially what it does is it allows maximum number of dwarves to pass through the space with minimum vision of each other, which is one of the main causes of frame rate lag, at least in the CPU side of things. So I would recommend doing that because it will balance out your frame rate a lot and make things a lot smoother. At least for the moving up and down portion of things. The lava won't be fixed by this, obviously. And then as we scroll down, and we get a little further down, you'll see that we hit a cavern layer, which is pretty empty as far as construction goes. More ore veins and more ore veins, more ore veins. And then we hit this cavern layer. This cavern layer is pretty cool because this site didn't just have one volcano initially. It was supposed to have two, which is in the bottom of the bottom cavern down here. Let's go a little further. Here it is. And of course, because the lava table changed, it also changed for this lower one, which is also burning down in the deep. Absolutely beautiful. And then you scroll further down, even further down, and then we get the lava sea. What a beautiful layout. I do think that there's a lot of potential here. I think that there's some mild improvements you could do for sure. As far as future projects that I would do with a fortress like this goes, I would try and harness this lava here into a bit more of a moat. Maybe along here and along here, make separate lava flows and see if I could get a large portion of this lava to stop doing this and instead flow nicely off the edge of the map. If this lava could be harnessed a little bit more instead of simply left to flow, it would improve the frame rate of the fortress overall. Like if it could flow through a trench going this way and flow through a trench going this way, and you could very slowly work your way through these more danger zones by spreading it out and not letting it get so deep, and you could eventually bring it into a place where you control it, I think that could be a really fun project for this map. Instead of just having this massive gushing flow of lava at all times, you could slowly corral it into a controlled eruption and then build something truly epic in the capital of Craftedaces. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you want to see more videos like it, you can check out this YouTube channel. I've got a whole playlist of these little fortress showcases, as well as Dwarf Fortress news and various other things dwarfy. If you want to see me play Dwarf Fortress or other games on the internet, you can find me at twitch.tv/BLINDIRL. Thank you very much once again to Birb for submitting this fortress over on my Discord in the DF Save sharing room. Once again, mods do cause loading errors a lot of the time, so if you are playing the game with mods, please let me know what mods you are using in your save and let me know that it's okay to use it in a video. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.